today is earned value management or EVMS implementations, but in particular, some background on implementations and some innovative options. So I'm here today with Louis Contreras, AzTech's president and chief support architect. My name is Tim Fritz. I'm the business development director here at AzTech. And we've had a lot of interest, Louis, in EVMS implementations lately. So our team has been employing some unique and innovative ways to approach an implementation with a goal of obviously satisfying government contractual requirements. But more importantly, we want to make sure we're right sizing an effective, implementation. It's scaled to the contractor's objectives. So our ultimate mission is to make the complex simple and make sure that earned value is accessible and manageable for everyone. So I'll dive right in. A lot of folks are scared at the thought of an EVMS. They think it's costly, complex, and burdensome. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's a good time for folks to take advantage of implementing an EVMS if they haven't already got one in place. And even if they do have one in place, it's a good time to look at streamlining how you do things. And I think that everyone should really look at EVMS as an opportunity. Really, it's a way to manage your project portfolio better. And who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want to deliver better and execute better? So yeah, I think it's a good time to really look at streamlining things.
So, in your opinion, who really needs an EVMS?
There's the FARs and DFARs that talk about EVMS requirement, and it goes anywhere from 20 million. A lot of talk now of pushing that number up to 50 million, but $100 million also. That's typically some of the thresholds that are used for when you have to do either some EVMS or what we'll call a full EVMS.
So, what are those differences? Just really quick. We have that $20 million to $100 million area, and then we also have the $100+ million threshold.
I think of it as a continuum, really. So anywhere, say, if you have smaller projects, you might want to do a streamlined EVM. Maybe you might even call it agile EVM, and then you can go all the way to the right of that, which would be what we call full up EVMS, which maybe has additional rigor required for it.
Okay. So we've had a lot of interest here at AzTech with implementations lately, and I've noticed actually some organizations elect to implement an EVMS on their own, while others come to AzTech more in a need because of a contractual requirement. It's something that they have on their near-term horizon. So really, why would an organization implement an EVMS in your perspective?
The truth is that most oftentimes it'll be because they have to. In other words, the requirement has come along. And it's one of those good problems to have, really. You could think of it that way, because if you're a company that maybe was in a smaller mid-range size company, say in aerospace or defense or energy, if suddenly you're up for a contract that's in $100 million range or greater, and you have the need to do EVMS, that's a good problem to have, really. It does make you more competitive. It makes you ready to take on larger projects, larger, more complex, risky projects that the federal government requires us to use EVMS.
So pivoting a little bit, myths versus reality. So heard what seems to be a little conjecture on this topic, but related to EVM implementations, what does it really take from your perspectives? And I have a couple of questions here. So, what do you think it takes? What's really something to be scared of, and who shouldn't pursue EVMS contracts?
I'm a big believer in a little EV is better than no EV, and incremental improvements are also worth aiming for. So I would say that any company should really consider implementing EV, especially nowadays. We really have some tools that make it so much easier to do than it might have been in the past. We have a lot of folks out there using Microsoft Project. Then there's a more high-end tools, say like Primavera P6. But then on the EV side, you have EV engines, we'll call them. Like there's some by Delta Cobra. There's Ford Project. and others out there in the market. And so there's a choice of different tools to use out there. We try to be tool agnostic, but we look for tools that are easy to implement. Okay, so I think maybe the reason folks were scared in the past was it sounded like, oh gosh, we got to get this new software, this whole new system, all this new training and new processes. And we look at it at AzTech, we look at it as really like a recipe. There's a recipe for a successful implementation. As long as you follow it, you can make that happen, and you can do that in as little as several months. So it doesn't have to be like a year or 18-month effort.
Yeah. So to that point, one of my pet topics is right sizing. What
I've never heard you use that phrase.
I know. Before. I never use that phrase.
Yeah.
What for those who don't actually want to, walk down the path or maybe shouldn't walk down the path of a full EVMS implementation or even a partial EVMS implementation, you had mentioned using just a little bit. What do you think they should do instead?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's an art and science to EVMS, right? I did say there's a recipe to it, but the right sizing part is the art. So that's where you really step back and say, okay, what type of projects do we have? What's the nature of our projects? Are they development? Are they low rate production? Are they production contracts? Are they IT projects? Okay, those are all different types of projects. That's one thing. Two, look at your team and, typically, depending on the size of the project, how many control account managers would we need to manage that work? So for some folks, they can roll that up into maybe just a half a dozen control account managers. Others might need a dozen or more. That's part of right sizing. It's just deciding where should we have our control account level. And for those of you that are new to EVM, think of control account as a big chunk of work. Okay, so a project is made up of multiple chunks of work, and a control account is one of those. So making that decision on where to put your control accounts is one of the big right sizing decisions. Then below that, you're going to decide things like what kind of detailed planning should we do? How detailed does our schedule need to be for us to manage it? And I think the main thing I would say to program managers and all project teams out there or executives making a decision is think of EVMS as a tool that you need to make work for you. Don't think of it as a government requirement, and this is what the government or industry says we should do. Think about it for your organization and your project types and how you'd like to manage your work and what's worked for you before. Okay, and that's all. Those are all elements in right sizing.
Okay. So we were talking about this the other day, and we were discussing this point of if a contractor actually overshoots the mark, they have designed a system that is too rigid or burdensome. How do you pull that back? What are some methods and ways that you would recommend, scaling?
Yeah, okay, that's a really good point because one of the key documents or work products in an EVMS implementation is what we call an EVMS description. For shorthand, it's called an SD. And that's basically your process document that tells you and your company, your organization, how you manage with using earned value management. So that document, the art of an EVMS implementation is making that document, I'm going to say, loose enough that it provides the proper guidance. It promotes the right things to do, the good things to do, but also it's got some flexibility to it. So that's what I would say in terms of scalable EVM. You want a system description that you can grow with. Okay, so it'll work for smaller projects that will need to be a bit more agile in the way they operate, and then it'll also work for the big projects that really need a little more discipline or more rigor to do them. But you want to be able to make that document allow you that flexibility, so you're not locked into doing things just because we said that's how we do it. And also, I think that nowadays, especially with so many new tools coming out and AI and other things occurring, we have to stay really flexible. And I hope that I think government and industry are ready to be more flexible right now. It's a good time to actually rethink how we do things.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue into my next question, which shifts gears just a little bit. What's your take on the latest research that looks at both environmental factors of a system and program team and EVMS maturity for success?
I think that culture really matters, and that's a phrase you might have heard in a lot of things, right? But in project management, it really matters. And by culture, what I mean is, do you have a culture of, say, of transparency? Where your project team is encouraged to bring up problems. Is they're encouraged to say, hey, I think we're going to overrun, or I think we're going to delay. Your suppliers are encouraged to tell you they're going to delay or overrun. So it's kind of a no surprises culture, right? That's willing to hear some bad news. So that's always been the case, that was important. And then maturity is the other part. So that was your environment. Think of culture and environment. Maturity is, do you have the systems in place? Do you already have some of the rigors in place and the processes and the trained staff and so on, right? So that would be your maturity. And some folks are at the high end of maturity. They've been doing EV for a long time, and they really know how to do this well. And others are just starting out. So environment and maturity really matter. But recent work by the Department of Energy and the Arizona State University did some really cool studies where they did some research that actually found the numbers that back this up, and basically showed that if you don't have the right culture or environment, or you don't have the right maturity, those two are related, and they actually impact each other. And also, those two will tell you if you're going to have a successful project management system or earned value management system. Before looking at the data, right? Before looking at your EV data in a compliance, say fashion, you can already see the indicators that it's not going to work for you if you don't change your culture and if you don't work on your maturity.
Yeah, is it a true incubator for successful EVMS, right? So moving on to the folks who say EVMS is complex. I know we've all heard that before. What do you feel like are the common misconceptions about the complexity of EVM, and how can it be simplified through some tailored solutions?
I don't know. The phrase I like to use is that EV is simple, but it's not easy. Okay, so there's nothing that is extraordinarily challenging in any one element of earned value, but all the pieces put together can be a challenge. So obviously, it helps to have folks who've done it before to help you along the way. So some coaching, mentoring, training obviously can really help get you further. Hiring the right people, some key people, will really get you along further with this as well. Nowadays we have to deal with the fact there's always been turnover, but I would say it's probably more than ever before. Young people are mobile and they want to move around, and a lot of people are. Of that. So a lot of folks just simply, you kind of get bored being on the same project, being on the same team, and you want to go to some other industries or some other projects that are doing something different. And you take all this skill and knowledge with you. So that's always a challenge. That sort of knowledge churn is a challenge, I think. But if you have training in place and a way to keep sort of continuous learning going on, that's going to help you be successful.
So what do you feel like is the buzz right now? I know there's a lot of, old and new things swirling around, but what do you see and hear as the future of EVMS implementation?
That's a good question. Obviously, I wouldn't be saying anything shocking if I said that AI is the buzz. I do think that there's some really cool ideas for how to use AI, and even practical applications already being done. We're working on some as well. And some of our industry and government partners are also working on it. So that's really an exciting area to see how we can use AI or other technology. I think of it as a spectrum as well, a continuum, that it goes to automation of all kinds. It's always been something we've all aspired to do, is to automate things. And then by using AI, you can not only automate some of the, some of the lower level work that we do that really is the drudgery of EVMS, to be frank about it. But now you can take that away from the team and let them do more of the high level strategic thinking that really people want to do, that challenges people in a way that makes them, really stay engrossed in this field of project management professionals. So I do think AI and automation are still the key things that I hear a lot about, and certainly what we're focusing on.
Yeah, and I mean, to that end, we have a few resources for everyone to check out. We have a podcast that we did, AI AzTech International Talks AI. That can be found on our website, and we also have a piece. And Louis, you were just referring to it in that spectrum, the EV and AI Gold Card, which is one pager that we talk about as well. Going back to implementation, we also have some resources that are out there for everyone. So go check out our website, www.goaztech.com. We have an EVMS roadmap. In the first few chapters, talk to why is EVM required, and the compliance and certification process. So I think there's a lot of really condensed knowledge in those few resources. And feel free to reach out to us anytime. So thank you for joining us today. And Louis, thank you. I appreciate all your insight, providing all your thought leadership and experience. Oh, absolutely. We always love to hear feedback from everyone. So feel free to post or send us a note. And we will catch you on the next podcast. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.